Hey everyone, I'm super excited about this podcast. It's actually, he's a two-timer, first two-timer we've had, and we've got some exciting news today. How you doing, Matt?
Crushing it, man. Thriving and loving life.
Crushing it, absolutely. So real quick, so you're a two-timer, but we talked about how we met. I want to at least catch up. It's been, I think, almost 2 years since we did the last podcast. So we met at an event called Flip Hacking Live in San Diego. A little over 2 years ago. Great event. And it was the last day. My wife and I, we spoke at that event. We're exhausted. And then you end up catching us right before we head out. And you're like, hey, I don't remember what questions you asked, but you're like, I'm just getting started investing in houses and may get my license soon. We ended up connecting afterwards. You weren't licensed at the time. And then kind of showed you what we're doing over here with eXp Realty. And you got your license, jumped on board, and you've just been rocking and rolling ever since. So is that about summarize it?
That's it, man. It's a good summary. Yeah, no, you guys had a fantastic presentation. I remember seeing, you and Jamie up there, and I was like, wow, they seem like cool people. I want to at least connect with them. I can't remember what your topic was that you spoke about, but whatever it was, I wanted to hit you up because, I was just a sponge at that point, trying to get as much personal knowledge as I could, so I wanted to hit you up for that. And it turned out to be even better as you introduced the eXp to me.
Yeah, and just glad we got connected. So since then, you've been just crushing it. And we've got a big announcement was just announced today, this morning. That's you hit icon status.
Yeah, man. That was my goal this year. So I had my production goal was I wanted to be able to hit icon. And I'm just super happy. Like it's the fact that I hit it, I'm like, well, if I can do it, anyone could do it. That's the way
seriously, you went from zero, and really, I skipped over some of that stuff because when you got started, you had a full-time job, a very demanding full-time job as an Air Force officer. And of course, you've got a few kids, so dedicated husband, father, busy guy, but you end up going from zero to icon, which I think only about 1% of eXp Realty agents will hit icon. And for those that don't know what that is, icon is that we have a $16,000 cap. So once you hit a certain production incentives, they give that cap back to you as a stock award. So for icon agents, you essentially don't have a cap. So you were given your $16,000 cap back as a stock award, and that's huge. That's huge. And you did that in 2 years as a brand new agent. And most of that time, you actually had another full-time demanding job, and you have a lot of other stuff, craziness going on, like we all do. So how did you do it in such a short amount of time?
Well, first, standard thing, you're not going to accomplish anything unless you set the goal. So I remember specifically saying, this is the year I want to hit icon. I was licensed when we met. We met 2 years ago. I got licensed shortly after that. I joined eXp in November of 2018, around the mid-November. And so through 2019, I did okay. I didn't cap or anything. It was, a good year. But then 2020 came around. I'm like, all right, I'm retiring and getting medically kicked out of the Air Force, basically. So I can't be a fighter pilot anymore. So I was like, I'm just going to crush this thing, man. It's going to be awesome. And so that was my goal for 2020. So first thing was really setting a goal, so I had a target that was identified, and I want to figure out how to kind of crush that target. And so after that, as far as like the way I do my production, for the most part, I just try to value relationships over transactions. And so I try to add as much value as I can. I interact with plenty more people than I do deals with, that's for sure. But that's where a lot of my production comes from, as well as my team. I started growing a team last year because I had too many leads that I could handle when I was still working, as a fighter pilot full time in the Air Force. And so I wanted to dedicate a proper amount of time to these leads, and I just wasn't able to do it. So I started growing a team, and now I have a team of 10 agents who are working with me as the team leader, and that's obviously helped propel a lot of production because I'm able to hand off leads to them that they're able to do a lot of the groundwork, and they appreciate it because they have a lot of warm, hot leads that they're handling. And I just kind of help from the team lead perspective. But the majority of my production that maybe hit icon is from personal production for the most part.
Yeah, and so you mentioned something that's pretty profound. So your first year, it's not like you were crushing it and you almost made it. I mean, you were crushing it, but you didn't cap. You did very well on first year agents. A lot of them, I mean, they hope to get a couple deals. The statistics are not impressive. So you totally crushed those, and then you set a goal, and you were very laser focused on hitting that, and you did, and you've got at least a month or two to spare, actually. So I got
a couple months.
So you do that and hit Icon. You did it in a short amount of time. So you talked about valuing relationships over transactions, which is something that a lot of people may underestimate. Is leading with value, and when you do that, it's just, I guess, that reciprocity. It's just magical how it happens, because by doing that, you ended up increasing your transactions. So what have been your most effective marketing or prospecting strategies over the past 12 months?
So for me, the reason I started getting too many leads that I could handle is we started partnering with local wholesalers. So there's 3 or 4 bigger wholesalers in the area, and a lot of them do these mass advertising campaigns that I was able to leverage as a retail agent. Because most of these wholesalers, what they would do, they'd call for these investment deals, and then the potential motivated seller on the other end was not motivated enough to accept an investment offer, a discount offer. But a lot of these quote unquote retail leads, they were just going by the wayside or going to some database that nobody ever handled. And so, I talked to one of the local wholesalers in the area, and she was like, "Yeah, I have this database of about 3,000 sellers who called, said they want to sell their house, but we just couldn't offer them enough." I was like, well, maybe we could do something about that. So we developed a partnership to where all of their retail leads, their listing leads, then just flow directly into our database. So they use Podio as their CRM source. And we just, through Zapier, we connect it directly to our KV Core, which is our CRM for eXp. And it's been awesome. So that's kind of the primary contributor to our lead source. We have some partnerships with local lenders as well. So I have a lender who pays money to the team each month for Google leads, and another lender who pays money each month for Facebook leads. And then on top of that, I'm just very active in a lot of the investor forums. And so a lot of my personal leads come from the investor forums. People come in looking for short-term rentals or flips or whatever they're looking for in the area.
Yeah, and you live in a pretty hot market for short-term rentals.
Great area.
Destin, Florida area, love it. Okay, so networking and establishing relationships with other really just industry leaders in their niche, other wholesalers, other investors, and obviously they're not going to buy every property, every lead that comes through their door. They're not going to be a good fit for, but it's not that, the person contacted them for a reason. They're looking to sell. They just couldn't act. They couldn't help them with their niche, but you just said, "Hey, stuff that you can't help, people you can't help, let me help them." So how does that work? How do the conversations work when you're talking with those kind of sellers?
So typically, so we have that mass database that we hit, and then we have the fresh leads that come in. Somebody calls today and they're listing lead and they come through. So if it's a fresh lead that comes in to the wholesaling company and they don't work out, so they push them to us. They normally do a semi-warm handoff to where the call center at the wholesaling company, they'll say, "Hey, we're going to push you over to our retail side, our listing source, and we have a stellar team there, and they're going to be contacting you soon." And then we have a drip campaign, an automatic drip campaign, because we know how they're handed off. So KV Core automatically engages with them right away via text message, and then we have a planned call shortly thereafter. And then if not, it'll be an email shortly thereafter that. So immediately we kind of have our system set up to where the touch points are there automatically, and then we try to engage right away. The conversation typically goes, "Hey, Mr. Seller, I heard you were interested in selling with our partner company, and just want to see how we can help you today." And typically from there, they're either extremely angry, like some people are, and they're terrible leads, but for the most part, compared to a lot of the cold calling leads we've experienced, these are not cold calling. They're warm calling leads. They've already called the company. So the conversation generally goes pretty well for the ones that are fresh. The older ones that were maybe 3 or 4 or 5, maybe a year stagnant in the database, it's more a cold call. But we just had a teammate who called one on Monday, and she was a half an hour on our dialer, with the database, and she's going to a listing appointment today for a $1.5 million beach house. So I mean,
Wow.
they're in there, and they're people who are still interested in selling, and yeah, so it's worked out really well.
Yeah, I used to tell when I ran a sales team in another industry, I used to tell them like every single person that calls in, they are a customer at some point. A good percentage of them now or in the near future, but even if they're not, they're going to be buying sometime in the future. A vast majority of them. So just establish those relationships and see how you can fit. So you seem like you've done that well. So Team Roar, that's grown. You got 10 agents, which most team leaders or folks looking to build a team, they really have a hard time struggling past it. And they'll get a couple friends or family, that's not too difficult, but to grow to where you've got 10 agents in less than 2 years, and really most of that was probably done in the last 12 months. How have you grown that so quickly?
The way we have our team, it's very value add. Again, it's kind of my whole approach at a lot of things, to where if I'm providing value to them, i.e. if I'm providing them a lead, then yeah, we do a team split. But beyond that, it's a smaller fee for any other leads they bring on themselves personally. So for them, any independent agent who wants to join the team, it's kind of it's almost a no-brainer, where if they're having struggle with their own lead generation, they can take advantage of us. But it's not like I'm going to be taking a big chunk of all of their deals, because that was never my intent. Was to create a traditional kind of team where I get 25% of every one of your deals, or 50% of every one of your deals, no matter what. So that in itself makes it a pretty easy sell, if you will, when people want to talk about the team. But beyond that, it's just the team environment. I think people like being in the team. We have daily stand up on our Slack channel. So, kind of saying what you've accomplished the day before, what you're planning on accomplishing today, and then anything that's blocking you from accomplishing those goals. And then we have a weekly stand up meeting as well. So, we have our weekly accountability meeting and kind of training that we do. So I try to add as much value as we can. We also have a transaction coordinator that provides all the back admin for the team's transactions. And so a lot of people really like that, right? So the team members can focus on production. They get a listing agreement signed. They hand it over to the TC. The TC handles it from there as far as the back office stuff, the MLS input and all that. I think we provide enough value, and we have enough lead sources that people are happy to join and without a huge detriment to their income,
Yeah, it's providing substantial value where it basically becomes irresistible at the point. And that's really where everyone should place their product or services. I'm giving you so much value, like there's no reason why you would ever say no. And it seems like that's what you're doing. I see some teams, and they're successful teams, and they just like gouge their agents. But at the end of the day, after all the splits and fees, like the agent's walking away with maybe 40%, and it's a lot of work for such a small split.
Yeah. Like I said, the only reason I even started the team is because I had too many leads to handle. So when I started, I was like, hey man, when I had some people who were interested with my meetup that I run, they kind of expressed interest because I was telling them how I have just too many leads to handle. They were like, well, if you want to team up, let me know. And so so it started, kind of grew organically. It was like, all right, man, you come on board and we'll figure this out. And just any leads that I give you, we'll just do a 50-50 split and we'll call it good, because they're hot leads. They're ready to go for the most part. And from there we grew a little bit more. I'm still a very laissez-faire kind of team leader, and it's a low threat environment for sure.
Yeah. So how are you finding these successful agents?
My local meetup is one that a lot of people is kind of a primary source. So I have a local real estate investing meetup, and from there we have investor-minded agents who come a lot. And so a lot of my teams are investor-minded agents, whether they're in the multifamily world, the short-term rental world, or they're flipping, or they want to get into that space. And then from there, it's just kind of grown organically through word of mouth, through some agents who are interested, through a friend of a friend, and then they give me a call and we chat, and they either love the idea or they hate the idea, and then they jump on.
Yeah, and I've even seen some brand new agents come on your team, and the speed at which they get like quick success, which is important, super important for their psyche, their motivation, all that. But it's been cool to see how quickly the agents on your team have gotten their first client, buyer, seller client, and then also get the second and third. That's been pretty exciting to watch, and I'm sure as a team leader, it's very rewarding for you.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things where I've had motivated agents who joined early on, and they were super motivated, and I was an inexperienced team lead, so I was like, all right, sweet man, let's well, here's what I do, and just kind of copy me and go forth and conquer, and I've realized now that first one or two deals to get as quickly as you can to really kind of jumpstart is pretty crucial. So kind of my going forward mentality is for the first deal or two for these newer agents is almost kind of give them a softball, like, hey guys, here's a lead I have warmed up, ready to go, or here's a lead I'm already working with, but you can take it from here and close it. It's, that pays massive dividends for them, for their psyche, for their motivation, for their overall experience. The experience from learning, right? Because you can learn about real estate or anything in the books all you want, but to go through a transaction from A to Z is really where the learning's done, is through experience.
Yeah, I mean, you can learn, like you said, through books. You can learn baseball from books, or you can get in and start swinging some bats and running bases. So that's ultimately, when you're in the game, that's where you learn, and that's where the growth happens. So, all right. So what's next for you? You hit Icon. You got a little bit of enjoyment time before your annual year resets. What's next for you over these next few months or next 12 months?
So the next thing we're going to try, so I'm a big Ricky Carruth fan. He's a eXp agent now. He does Remax, and he does some free online coaching. So I'm going to try some specific circle prospecting techniques that he's doing. So that's like my next big thing I'm going to be focusing on. And production level wise in 2021. So next year, the next 12 months, really, I want to sell 100 houses. I want to sell 100 a year on the sales side. I've been really struggling with the whole focus piece, and in real estate, it's really easy to chase a bunch of shiny objects.
Yes,
whether investing alone or even in sales of the different lead gen sources. And I've been going through a wealth gym workshop with Ariane Lemire that she started her whole wealth gym thing. And I've learned I'm just going to focus on one thing. Gary Keller's the one thing, right?
One thing, love it.
You got to focus on one thing, and for me personally, it's going to be the gap between my expenses and my income. I want to grow that gap as much as I can over the next year, and then from there, whatever I've left over, I'll really start to focus on the investing side again. But so over the next 12 months, it's production. I have a goal of $500,000 is over the next year is what I want to for my income. So it's about 70 houses is what I want to hit.
70 houses. I know you can do it. Are you working in multiple markets or just mainly the Destin and surrounding communities?
Destin and surrounding. I mean, we go from Panama City Beach to Pensacola. But me personally, like my team will cover that space. Me personally, I try to cover Destin in the surrounding areas is my bread and butter, but I'll go out to Panama City if we need to. Or 30A is a very popular, like wealthy, posh kind of beach life as well. I'll go over there. It's fun.
And we didn't even talk about how, so you have 10 core agents, but you get a lot more agents on your, as far as your eXp team than just your 10 core that's on Team Roar. And just off the top of my head, you probably have agents in like 4 or 5, maybe more states, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think we're like 5 or 6 states right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How have you connected with those folks?
A lot of it's been organic. So I had, like, for instance, the last one who joined, she was a client of mine. She's an investor in New York City, and I've been helping her look for homes down here with the Vendy home loan program, which is a really awesome home loan program that we don't need to get in the weeds there, but it's where you can purchase VA loans as a civilian investor, VA foreclosures at only 5% down as an investor.
Nice.
So it's pretty awesome program. Anyway, she contacted me through one of my investor forums. We started talking. She's a fantastic person. And then she just sent me an email saying, hey, I got my license. I like what you're talking about with eXp. I'd like to join under you. And so it's just one of those things where I'm not like going out and actively promoting it necessarily. Because right now, 80% of my time is focused on production, and maybe 20% of my time is focused on, the rev share side and bringing on, producing agents. And so a lot of it is just that, another agent who joined last month under me, he had a bad issue with his broker where he's suing his broker, and he's basically got fired. And he gave me a call. I said, hey man, I want to join eXp. What do I need to do? So it's really just, I think it just goes from adding value and being a good example of a good agent in the area. And then occasionally bringing up the benefits of eXp, because I could talk for hours about why eXp is such an awesome company. But I try not to be that constant dude who's just pounding it down people's throats,
Yeah. Well, I mean, success attracts success, and you're crushing it, and you've done it in multiple, you did it in the Air Force, doing it now in real estate, and people see that, and they see the value you're providing, and naturally folks want to work with you. So yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to add?
No, man, I'm just, the Icon program is really one of the things that kind of brought me, whenever you told me about the Icon program, when we were initially talking about eXp, that's what really sold me into the company. You know, the rev share thing was nice. Keller Williams has a similar model, right? Theirs is a little more convoluted, but the stock share stuff was cool. I'm not really a stock guy, so I didn't really care as much. But when you brought up this whole idea of the Icon program, I was like, wait, so the better you produce in the company, the less you actually pay the company. You know, like that whole concept of being a high performer and being rewarded for being a high performer even more, that I love that. And so I was just, you know, it's just such an awesome tool that I really try to emphasize to people, just to show like you can give yourself a $16,000 raise just by just by joining eXp. So it's an awesome program that I was really loving. I'm stoked that I hit the goal this year. I'm
excited for you, and I really think that most people under like mega agents, like the agents that are already Icon but aren't with eXp, they don't really take. And a lot of it, they're laser focused like you. They're doing their thing and they're very successful at it, and that's why they're successful. But a lot of them don't really break down the math. So from a single year, getting a $16,000 raise, it's good. It's not life changing, but it's good. But when you extrapolate that over a 5, 10, or 20-year period, take the #1 team in Canada, #1 Remax team in Canada, just moved over to eXp. He's been in the company, or he's been in real estate for like 30 years. When you start spreading out the timeline, $16,000 becomes worth a lot more than just 16 grand. Mm-hmm. It actually becomes now serious money that you can choose. Do you want your broker to have it, or do you want your family to have it? Your kids, your spouse, your grandkids, or whatever it is that you're really working for. Because we may all like real estate, but when it comes down to it, we've got other things that really excite us, and that's why we put up with all the stress that comes with this game. So just taking that math and playing with it, and over time, that's exciting. So
yeah, man. So I don't know. I'm just super excited. You know, it's been a whirlwind of activity from, you know, retiring in January of this year from the Air Force. January 31st, I retired till now. It's a different lifestyle, going from a salary job to a 100% performance-based pay job, but you know, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it. So thanks for bringing me on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you. Excited for your success and the success your team is getting by following your lead. I know you're just going to grow from here. Can't wait to do another podcast with you next year and see where you're at. So if anyone wants to connect with you, where should they reach out?
Teamroar.org is our website. If you want to go there for information as far as finding houses in the Gulf Coast of Florida. So we're in the Panhandle area. If not, you can reach out. My cell phone, 724-513-6012. Happy to throw that out there, or my email, which you can throw in the show notes as well, just so they can have that. Always available, and I'll respond as quickly as I can.
Absolutely. As far as your RIA event, your meetup, so what is that called? And if anyone's local or they're going to be in the area, how can they find info on that?
Yeah, so I have it on meetup.com, and I throw it on Bigger Pockets as well. And it's just called, I think, Real Estate Investing Niceville. Yeah, so something to that effect. I can give you the link and get through on the show notes as well. But we meet once a month, and I try to deconflict from from the other RIAs in the area, because ours is a very, very informal. We just meet at a local restaurant and we just literally just talk. There's no like official lessons or anything like that. It's very low key. Event where we normally get anywhere from 10 to 25 people is kind of the normal kind of that we get. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to get back down there and catch up with you again.
Absolutely, man.
All right. This has been fun.
Absolutely, man. Have a good day. See ya.
Take care.